you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.
Hey there, welcome to Sharkcast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. My name is Sam Shinazzi, an OG from 2015. Been watching the boys for a lot longer than 2015, and the girls now too, thankfully, for the last few years. We started this podcast 2015 coming off a disastrous 2014 season. Adam Newman and myself began this journey. We had a hell of a time rocking and rolling for 7 or 8 years maybe. And then he left to go off into the sunset, and I've been continuing the podcast ever since with some really important, special, regular guest hosts who absolutely nail it week in, week out for us. Today will not be one of those episodes. Today I'm flying solo for my own reasons. Everything's cool, but that's the story. Please stick around for a hopefully entertaining, informative episode. We're going to speak to Kayal Iro, who gave us some time down at training. We'll run that interview a little bit later on. Got some mail to get through, some news to talk about, yada, yada, yada. We have rugby league merchandise available at rugbyleaguemerch.com. We're on all the social media platforms that we can handle right now, which is the YouTube, which is the X, which is the TikTok, which is the Facebook, the Instagram. At Sharkcast Pod should be the handles for all of those. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a whatever it is people do on those things. And of course, you can subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already for free on your podcast apps, whether it's an actual app or whether it's YouTube. Hit subscribe, and every time we release an episode, you'll be notified. So the Sharks coming off a 34-22 loss to Parramatta almost a week ago as I record this. And we're sitting in second place, equal first with Melbourne. And it's our second straight loss after winning 7 in a row. So at this point in the season, which is halfway, if not close to it, to be in this spot, I'm pretty happy. Obviously, we'd rather be winning than losing at the moment. That's not the case. Hopefully, we can turn that around against Brisbane. We last had a 3-game losing streak towards the end of last year. So that's how well the club has been going on the field. But yes, a 34-22 loss last week. And it's a loss that shouldn't have been. We should have won that game, even though we were missing the king of carrying by Nico Hines and the great captain in Cam McInnes. Big losses for the team. Parramatta had their superstars returning in Clint Gutherson and Mitch Moses. They played lights out. Clint Gutherson ran for the second most metres in his career. Mitch Moses just returned to his great form from before. But it was a game there that we should have won. We got within 6 points towards the end of the game. We were leading 6-0 at the start of the game. It was a winnable game. We lost it with our defence. We completed 33 of 36 sets. We didn't do a lot with that ball from time to time throughout the game. So more points would have been a lot more beneficial, obviously, but the defense is something that they can and I imagine will fix, and that's where we lost it. So that was disappointing, and I think you'll see a much better defensive effort this week against the Broncos, and it'll have to be, because the Broncos, even with a few guys missing from their team, are still going to be pretty red hot up at Suncorp, and we'll talk about that game shortly. We will get through your mail, and just to start with one from Terry that just came in. He said, "Hi, is there any news on injuries to Uele and Dykes? Nothing I can see on the club website. Keep up the great work. Regards." Terry, thanks so much for being in touch. As always, appreciate your support. I did run into Max Bradbury, young prop, who you remember came down from Newcastle a few years ago. He's played at the lower level in the under-20s, and he's played New South Wales Cup lately and been impressing as well. Unfortunately, he's done an ACL. It's his third ACL injury. I think the first, though, on the knee that's hurt. And he was having surgery, I think, Wednesday week ago. So it's bad news for him. He's off contract, so we'll see what happens there. Send him all the best. He's been a friend of the show since he came down from Newcastle. But to answer your question, Terry, Hamlin Welly, I believe, is just a continuation of the injury he's had, and that'll be a week-to-week kind of thing as to when he's back. So not long-term, but just something they might have to manage. And Cade Dykes was definitely in training with the injured players, so I don't think he's far off from playing cup football again. Whether he's ready for NRL at this stage, I'm not sure, but he will be back soon, hopefully. But he's training with the injured brigade. I'm recording this on the day of Game 1, State of Origin 2024. And as I've been saying for the last 10 years on this show, I'm not a huge fan of the game itself due to the ramifications it has on the club. Grew up loving State of Origin, could not wait for it. You know, come home from school, icy cold, and just sitting under the doona watching with my family, you know, some of the great times, some of the great players, some of the great games. But once I realised what it did to club football, and it was particularly during, I guess, the GOAT Paul Gallen's era, it became quite obvious that it's a huge toll on clubs. I completely support Nico Hines, completely support Cam McInnes. Josh Hannay is with Queensland. It's the pinnacle of their careers in their eyes sometimes, and I respect that. I respect what the coaches think. They think that it's good for the players, and I'm supportive of that. But the spectacle itself, I just think, could be played another time and without club football going on. That's the bottom line. So that's where I stand on that, which a lot of you already know, but I just wanted to say I don't hate State of Origin football. I hate the way it is organised and run. I just think there's better ways to do it. Getting through some lower grade news. Jersey Flegg Sharks lost 26-16 against Parramatta. Played in pretty poor conditions. They play the Roosters this Saturday, so they're hoping to turn around their fortunes. The game is actually played at Henson Park before the Shark Jets play the Roosters. So kickoffs at 1:15 for Jersey Flegg. Kickoffs at 1:15 for Jersey Flegg, and that'll be followed by the New South Wales Cup game. Speaking of the Newtown Shark Jets, they ran away with a win, 34-18 over the Eels, and they're very much in the top 5 at the halfway mark of the season. It's their 5th win in a row, looking for 6 against the Roosters on Saturday. Jesse Colquhoun actually came back and played a really strong game, and that's a massive positive for the Sharks' forward rotation. And Jaden Berrell also came back from an elbow injury and played pretty good. So 3 o'clock, if you can't get to Henson, you can watch it on the New South Wales Rugby League TV website app situation. Some great players. I mean, Liam Eason is unbelievable at fullback. We've told you about him. Chris Vayella, I'm a big fan of in the centres. Sam Stonestreet in the wing. And yeah, there's some interesting players throughout that team. Billy Burns in the back row. Sam Healy on the bench. There's lots of guys to kind of check out when they play next on Saturday. As we edge towards the start of the NRLW season for the Sharks, their second season, they have signed former Jillaroo and New South Wales representative Nakia Davis-Welsh. She's 28. She played for the Parramatta Eels. Before that, she's obviously represented in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership as well. All right, let's get through some mail now. We'll play Kayal Iro's interview soon, and we'll also preview the Broncos game in a little while. But first of all, some of your mail. We heard from Terry before. Thanks for being in touch, Terry. Blake wrote to me, and it made me laugh because he said 3 on the trot hurts. And I had to reply to him and say, actually, it's only been 2. He says the kicking game and the kick chase was a big letdown in the Parramatta game. Gutho ran for over 200 metres and at the 60-minute mark on one leg. It seemed like we could absorb the pressure but lacked the ability to build any ourselves. Controversial topic, but is the Iro experiment over? What does he do that Talakai can't? Talakai is even or better at defence, run meters and attack. He was huge in the weekend. Maybe Iro puts the 18 on and makes room for another big body on the bench. Food for thought, Blake. Yeah, it's a conversation that's going around a bit, Blake. It's a hard one to kind of hit the nail on the head, I think. There's a lot of unknowns there. I think that for a guy who's only played a handful of games, he's absolutely killing it. Now, he had the one-on-one miss, which we've spoken about from pillar to post, and everyone has spoken about. There was one miss. Now, it's costly, but he's probably made 20 of those before that didn't end up in tries, and we haven't spoken about it. So I think just focusing on one error is not great. I'm not saying you're doing that, but others are doing it. What does he do Talakai can't? I think that defensively in that position, from what I've seen over a handful of games, I think Iro does shore up the line a bit better. Run meters are honestly around the same. On a good day for Iro, they're honestly around the same. They're not as devastating, but they're the same meters. He's still making the meters. Attack-wise, I think Kieran Fraser made the point on Monday that if he gets more early ball, we might see him getting more attacking opportunities. Talakai gets a lot of early ball when he's in the centres, and Iro hasn't been afforded that. So I think that's one thing where he's been disadvantaged, probably through no fault of his own. I do think at some point in the near future that Kayal may get a rest, because it'll be a thing where the coach goes, well, he's played this amount of football in this amount of time. He's young. He needs a week or two off. And it is worth sticking around for the Iro interview coming up in a little while, because he does mention the recovery is a bit harder than what it has been in the past. So it's an interesting one. I do think he might get a spell at some point, but I don't think it'll be because of bad form. I just think it'd be one of those things. I think Tom Hazelton is also in that bracket where he may get a rest, but it won't be due to being a bad player. So I think for now, we've lost 3 games. We're equal first. I don't think it's time for mass change, Blake, but it's nice to know Talakai is there if needed. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being in touch. A very detailed and great letter from Liam. Thank you for being in touch, Liam. I've already replied to you. But Liam said it was his first time writing to us. He and his dad listen to the show every week, and they like what we do. They're big Sharks fans, and especially his dad. And they watch the games together every week, as they have done all their lives. It's a huge part of their life, and I appreciate all the detail you have written to us, Liam. I'm not going to read it out word for word because it's just a tad long for the pod, but I really appreciate it. The emphasis on this letter is that your dad isn't in the best of health, and sometimes that health gets worse during Sharks games. So you need to be careful about that stuff. I've already written to you with some hopefully helpful advice. But main thing I wanted to say was thanks for listening to you and your dad, and just take care of each other. And I hope that your dad enjoys the second premiership that's coming up in the near future. Thank you, Liam. Don't be a stranger. Tomo says, watching the game last night, the Eels proved way too good for us. In saying that, we still had a decent chance to win the game. Our defence has dropped off a cliff in the past 2 weeks, and we've conceded 106 points in 3 games. I can only imagine how frustrated the team and especially the coaching staff would be. I said in my previous email this is our biggest test to date, to see if we have the ability to bounce back after a big defeat, and we didn't. But which other team in the comp has had to face the potential top 5 teams in 5 consecutive weeks? Personally, I think Parramatta will play finals football. I thought we looked flat, especially if a side gets in our face, which is what happened in the past 2 weeks. We have Brisbane coming up. We just don't beat them. We need to scramble to the bye and try to grab a win along the way. Reset and go from there. Disappointing, but on a whole, 9-3 is a good start to the season. Thanks, Tomo. Thank you, Tomo, for being in touch. Look, I'm not disagreeing with you about the scramble to the bye and getting a win along the way, and I think you're hinting at the Dolphins game, which is not an easy win. Believe me, they are so competitive, that team. But I'm not going up to Brisbane without any hope. I think that the game is there to be won. They're just going to have to be smart about it, and we'll talk about that coming up. Thanks for being in touch. Appreciate it. Our friend RCB said the Sharks look tired from the jump. Again, defensively very weak and leaky. It's not the loss, it's the performance and the application defence. It's round 13, but to me it's been off for nearly a month now. Losing Cam was big, but to lose because 2 guys came back isn't good enough. Also, would it kill the Sharks to wrap up and offload? I think it would, some kind of self-combustion situation. And I mentioned on the Monday show, RCB, that we're last for offloads conceded. We concede the most. Looking at the forward pack, they didn't crack 100 metres. Does all the work have to be done by the backs? Is this one of those class projects where a kid throws his name on the end but hasn't done anything? Oh man, don't judge those kids. I know what you're saying, and I do wonder myself about why the forwards are not making more metres. Is it just because the backs do it? I can't really give you a concrete answer as to why. Because if the backs didn't do it, would the forwards do it? I don't know. It all screams they need to freshen up before going into the bye. Tom looks tired, as does Kafusi. Play them off the bench or give them a rest. I wouldn't play either Origin man either. Well, one of them is definitely not playing. Had you said to me 9 and 3 to start, I'm taking it. But the last 2 weeks, you don't sign up for that, do you? No, you don't. You don't. The 42-0 one in particular was distressing. But equal first. Going into the second half of the year, we're going to take that. Wise words again, RCB. Appreciate you. Neil's been in touch, said, I think I preferred when no one took us seriously and we were winning. As soon as everyone started saying we are the real deal, our wheels have fallen off. Is it mental fatigue for getting up for the Storm and Roosters because we dropped our intensity and our form is suffering? Just on that, I don't have an answer for that one, but it has been mentioned throughout certain sections of the press and that kind of thing, that when you're up for those games and you succeed and you impress everyone, that pressure to keep it going, and then the thought in the back of your mind where you can actually do anything, it may bring in some negativity as far as less effort and that kind of thing. You can rely on your teammates and you get the job done no matter what, but really you still got to do that hard work. So there might be something in that. He said Kennedy was a standout against Para, and Hunt and Talakai tried to change the momentum. We needed to play some footy. Para's defence wasn't great. We didn't ask many questions until it was too late. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Hopefully it's just a glitch in normal programming. We're back against the Broncos. Last week was a wake-up call against the Premiers. This week was a slap in the face, losing to the 15th placed Eels. Next week needs to be a victory if we're going to be a true contender. We have to overcome adversity and get back to the hungry, vicious Sharks that got us to the top of the table. Appreciate your thoughts, Sam. I need a voice of reason. Up Cronulla, Neil. Well, I appreciate your thoughts for starters. I think that we shouldn't be looking at Para as a 15th place team. They're only there because of injuries. We know that. They'd be a lot higher if they didn't have injuries, particularly to their number one playmaker. They would probably be 7th or 6th, you would think at least. They showed they're a decent team when it all gets happening. They weren't extremely impressive, but they played a very good game. And they were the better team, of course. Let's see what happens against the Broncos and Dolphins, and we'll go from there, Neil. Thanks for being in touch. Ashley's been in touch, our old friend Ashley. He says, I hope you're well. I wanted to mention what is taking so long for the Leagues Club to acquire a builder to build the new Leagues Club. Been waiting since January, and always seem to get in the CEO's emails the same copy and paste every single month. Another season with no club. Ash, I know you're struggling with this delay in the club. I know you used to work there. I know it means a lot to you. It means a lot to a whole lot of us. I just think that's not much as a member that you can really do. You can't speed up the process yourself, so try not to get too down about it or angry. It will be ready when it's ready. I don't have a reason as to why it's not ready right now. I know there's reasons out there. Yes, our friend Dino does keep saying the same thing, but maybe there's nothing else to be said. I mean, how many times can he say it's not ready? So, in different ways. So, I mean, he's in a tough spot. We've been waiting a lot longer since January, obviously, for a Leagues Club. So, it has stretched out. I mean, let's hope when it's ready that it's just perfection. But I'm taking positives out of this, Ash. The Chinese restaurant is open. I can't wait to get down there. By all accounts, it's killer. I can't even tell you why I haven't been there. I mean, I can, but you don't want to hear about my life. That restaurant is open and rocking every day of the week, I believe. The supermarket's open. The booze shop's open. The other restaurants are open. The takeaway places are open. The barber's there where Kieran gets his hair cut. So everything's getting closer. The merch store is very, very soon opening up there in that complex. And you're going to love that, Ash. And you'll see some familiar faces in there as well, which is exciting. Congratulations to who I'm talking about if she's listening. But it's coming along, man. And it's just, the club is just behind. And I'm not going to go into why or politics and that kind of stuff. This is not the place to do it. But it's a tough one. I know you're struggling with it, but just until you can get there, I don't want to be a Dino mouthpiece, even though, Dino and I are cool. But go to the Cronulla one. Cronulla one's pretty good. It's really good. It's out of the way for some people, but it's there. It's great. And I just think we need to look at some positives here, Ash. If you're looking for a place to hang out before or after a game, go to the brewery at the Hairy Man's. It's awesome. There's ways around this negativity, my man. And thanks for being in touch. Appreciate it. Adam has been in touch and said, the mail from Worldwide last week was spot on. I couldn't believe it when the announcer started yelling, Sharkies, Sharkies. Bring back the Jaws music if they must have anything. But it's the wrong time, as your listener last week said, during attacking plays. And I tend to agree with this. We need the noise during defensive plays, not attacking. Metal music. I'd make them listen to Kill Again by Slayer. I bloody love that song. I can hear a little bit of the Dead Kennedys in the intro. Cheers for everything. The game was rank. Good on you for showing up as usual. Adam, you're cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. Yeah, so last week we had a very wise correspondent tell us not to yell out during the attacking plays, but during the defensive plays. Adam has doubled down on that. I'm tripling down on it. Alex was in touch. I'm not sure if this is a late email or not. I'm a weekly listener going all the way back to the glory years of 2016. You and the boys do such a great job on the pod. I love tuning in every week to hear your thoughts. Alex, bottom of my heart, thank you very much. Oh, hang on, there's more. You always provide a balanced and hopeful perspective when the team has a bad loss, and I'm seeking your wise words at this time, as my hope in this season was shattered into pieces on Saturday against the Panthers. It seemed like a team had gone to a new level, but that loss had patches of 2023, e.g. Storm and Warriors losses written all over it. Do you have any thoughts on why this seems to happen to the team every now and then, these losses that we have? Thanks for the awesome pod. Up, Alex. Look, I don't have an answer for you on that. If I did, I'd be a very famous NRL coach. But I think what the coach would tell you is that it's still a young team, both in age and under his guidance, finding their feet, finding the way they play. Now, they have a style, obviously, but they're still probably working on the negative stuff. So the losses, why they lose, why they concede points, etc. Other thing is you could say is they were up for those two massive games. And myself and a lot of other people said they were two of the best wins in the club's history, particularly the Melbourne game. And when you're up like that and you're not used to it, it's probably easy to get pulled back down, especially against a team like Penrith, who even without some of their stars are one of the best teams in over 120 years of rugby league. Like, they're that good. How we bounce back this week and moving forward, that's going to be, I think, where they're judged this year. I don't think they're going to be judged on the Penrith loss or even the Para loss. You said the best part of the night was hearing I Won't Back Down playing before kickoff. You did it. Man, I didn't hear that. I probably had Kieran Fraser in my ear doing Seinfeld skits or something, but I didn't hear it, and I'm regretful. So I'll be listening out at the next game for sure. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for being in touch. Don't be a stranger. Okay, so we got a piece of correspondence from the Heart of Bodyboarding. I wasn't sure what it was, and they've replied, and it was a voicemail, and I didn't get the voicemail. It must have, deleted on Instagram after a certain amount of time. But had a great time at Panthers game, had travelled down from Port Macquarie with the family. Unfortunate result on the night, hoping they can bounce back, get the season back on track. Atmosphere on the night was a little underwhelming. We had a great time at the game and over the weekend in Cronulla. Quick shout out to the Sharks sponsor Quest Woolaware, where our family stayed right on the ground. Had a fantastic experience staying so close to the stadium, and this really added to the pre-game hype. The rooms are beautiful, customer service fantastic, all in all a great experience. Definitely encourage all our regional or out-of-town Sharks fans to make the journey to Shark Park and stay at the Quest at Woolaware. So close to the stadium, it makes for a great football weekend. So thank you for being back in touch. Appreciate it. Glad you had a good time. The atmosphere was down because we lost the game 42-0. I mean, it's hard to sort of get up for that kind of stuff. It's a bummer that that's the game you had to see. I'm really impressed that you had a great time. We've just dropped 1 million positive words for Quest at Woolaware, so if they wouldn't mind being in touch and sponsoring the show, really appreciate it. During the Parramatta first half against Cronulla. In fact, probably only 17 minutes in. Sean wrote to us and said, this rep is giving off Shane Hayne vibes already. And if you don't know what that means, I think he's referring to the 2003 game. Go Google it if you're too young to remember. Steve's been in touch about something which I need to reply to you personally, which I will. But before that, you said, all this negative mail, take a deep breath, we're in first place. You said, though we're not going to win against the Broncos because I'm going. Thanks for all the podcasts, from Steve in Brisbane. Steve, don't go to the game this week. You've already told us that you don't see us win. So even though they're coming to your hometown, we forbid it. You're not allowed to go. And of course I'm kidding. Go and watch them win for the first time in Brisbane. Thanks for being in touch. I will reply to your other piece of correspondence. I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of podcasts, but one in particular, and it's run by former NRL player Keegan Hipgrave, who I'm pretty sure was a Titan through and through and retired early due to injury, I think. He's got this awesome podcast called Keegan and Company. And it's basically just one-on-one interviews, mostly with athletes, but also other people. And he calls it a mental health and sport podcast. And it is really, really impressive. And we had our very own NRLW captain on there last week in Tiana Penatani, and that's a fantastic listen. Nico's been on there, but it's just a really good chat, and Keegan seems like an absolute lad. And I mean that in a good way. I remember him as a player, which wasn't that long ago, and his style, nothing like what his podcast is like. So shout out to Keegan. And also, while we're at it, want to give a shout out to the post-credits show, which is, I think, just Melbourne-based, and it's run by Lush and as well as Loki, two Sharks fans who do a pop culture podcast, and it's become really good, and they do videos and that kind of thing. But this week they talked about Origin, and they talk about other just great things. So give them a check out if you can too. Check them out all over, I guess, YouTube and that kind of thing. They're probably everywhere you find podcasts. So quick shout out to those lovely people. Former Shark statistician Michael Gillard's been in touch, and he's referring to the random Shark of the week that we play most Mondays when we record with Kieran. We try and record every Monday morning. Sometimes we don't get to it, but it's been pretty regular, and we do a segment at the end of the show called Random Shark of the Week, where I try and, I guess, outsmart, due to data, Kieran's very smart brain. And Michael said, I haven't even got near the past 2 weeks of Random Sharks of the Week. And says, love your work. So thank you very much, Michael, for being in touch. And if we're stumping you and stumping Kieran, that's pretty good. Matt has been in touch. Matt is also from Melbourne, actually, and he said, sorry to report I'm depressed after listening to the mail section in the latest episode. Granted, it's not all sunshine and unicorns, but bloody hell, plenty of our fans need to relax. I take my hat off to you travelling through those letters. Big test this week to see how we bounce back. Cheers, Matt. And he says you keep me sane. I appreciate those thoughts, Matt. And yeah, last week people were pretty dramatic. I think this week it's hopefully a bit more realistic at the very least, but appreciate your thought and appreciate you listening, that's for sure. Andrew's been in touch, said I'm going to be one of those guys that I don't like. I think he's referring to him not liking it. The guys who message during the game and say all is lost. But it is what it is, and we're in trouble. We look tired, we look lost, we look like we're crying out for a bye. The upside of it is the position we're in on the ladder. We've bought ourselves some breathing space. Downsides are many, but the one that comes to mind is we've thrown away the advantage of those great wins against the Storm and Chooks. I think Tall Tom might need a bench spot to rest up. Iro will be lucky to stay in first grade. Jack Williams' impact from the bench means too much for us to start him at 13. Jack has to be a benchy. We've conceded 30 points 3 times in a row, and that's not a defensive mindset. That's a mindset of getting ahead of themselves and reading the good press. Very, very disappointing. Tigers game hurt. Penrith game sucked, but no team in the comp would have been beating them the night they were in form. They were in last week, but tonight against the Eels, absolutely disappointing. No excuses other than we were not good enough, and we got what we deserved. Andrew, I agree with most of that, and thanks for being in touch, and appreciate all the words, and especially during a game to be in touch is Very appreciated. The point I want to hit on is the downside of not taking advantage of the great wins. I think that those wins should just stand alone. And yes, we should have gone on with it against Penrith and against the Eels and this week against Brisbane. We want to win every game. But I don't think we should throw those wins against those teams out. I think they're pretty important, particularly if we can bounce back against Brisbane and hopefully Dolphins next week. So I agree with a lot of what you say, though. I just think that we're going to lose some games. It's going to hurt. We're losing games at the moment. Hopefully that turns around. Brown Snake has been in touch, said 5 front rowers in the team, but we don't have a Matt Pryor-like player who hits and sticks. Lack of line speed, kick chase was poor, giving away too many offloads. I'm not sure why Fitzy keeps swapping the edges our halves are defending. We got caught out on both edges multiple times. The Will Kennedy hate in the Instagram comments was ridiculous. I thought he was our best player. Up, we're not done yet. Hey, I like that. We're not done yet. Okay, so Brown Snake. We don't have a Matt Pryor. I think that Matt Pryor is coming next year with a different body shape, and he's got 3 letters to his name. One starts with A, one starts with B, and there's an F in the middle. Definitely giving away too many offloads, especially when it counts. I think swapping the edges of the halves might have been due to Trindle coming back rather than Atkinson. See how that goes this week. There should be no hate for Will Kennedy. There should be no hate for anyone, but anyone speaking negatively about Will Kennedy just isn't watching the game, or if they're watching it, they don't know enough about the game, because Will Kennedy has just been remarkable. Thanks for being in touch. Completely appreciate it. Lush from the post-credit show in Melbourne has been in touch and saying some nice things, and he said, so good to hear your voice sounding on the mend. Appreciate that. It has been on the mend. Today it's probably not as good. Today's a step back, but hopefully tomorrow is a step forward. I want to give a shout out to our friend Paul, and he knows why. Legend Paul. Appreciate you. Kira was in touch after the Eels game. She said, hello guys, and Sam, scream what is happening to the Sharks. From going great to losing to a rubbish team, where is that defense? I'm blaming Origin taking our 2 best players away. Why isn't it played on a standalone weekend so nobody loses players? Nico was missing out there tonight, and so was Cam. I heard on your show during the week, and someone mentioned the Rabbitohs last year sliding from 1st to 8, and you totally disagreed with it. Well, now I ask the same question. Was he right? Ooh. I don't think so. I'm sticking by my answer. That's my answer to you, Kira. Is there a way back now? Yes, there is a way back. Absolutely. You say it's time for change. Ronaldo needs to improve his defense. Ueli can't hold the ball. Well, he can hold the ball, Kira. He just dropped it one time, which was quite important. But he set up a try before that and did a whole bunch of stuff. So let's not just focus on these little singular moments. You do say something needs to change. We can't afford any more losses. Well, that's even not true. But you would like to see Big Tuku back. You're just a very disappointed person. You want to cry. Hope we can do way better next game, or it will be desperation times for the team. And the Dolphins won't be easy either. No, they won't be easy. She says, go Sharks, make a sad girl smile again. Kira, I hope you're doing better right now. There's better times ahead. Stick with us. Keep listening. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you writing in. Don't be a stranger. Brent says, well, Brent starts with a saying that I absolutely cannot stand. And Brent, it's nothing to do with you. Respect you. You say, I hate to be the one to say I told you so, but I told you so. Brent, don't throw I told you so's at me, please. And that goes for anyone else out there. Whoa, one of those sayings I just can't stand. Also, what did you tell me? Without our 2 Origin stars, especially Nico, we'll keep the Pretenders tag. I'm hoping they can start putting teams away. It seems everyone now has worked out how to beat us, kick to the corners, keep us down there. I can't wait till Fanua Blake gets here. Yeah, absolutely. He'll be a great addition. Last night against the Eels, we needed a leader, and they were both missing in the Origin team. I have no interest in that. They picked 2 of our best players. So I'm with you. I agree. They need to play it on a different weekend or at the end of the season. You and Kira both agree with me. And a lot of other people, I should say. I would like to give 5 players a wrap, though. This is awesome. Love a wrap. Royce Hunt, Sione Katoa, Will Kennedy, Sifa Talakai, and Dan Atkinson never stop trying. Sam, you're too soft on this team sometimes. Some things need to be said about them sometimes that might seem a bit tough, but everyone has an opinion. Man, I'm open to everyone's opinion, but you got to be open to my opinion too, please. And I'm not too soft on this team. I just look at it a different way as to what you look at it, and someone else looks at it a different way to you and I. It's just how the world works, Brent. We all look at it differently. You say, come on, Sharks, get it right. Start playing the way you know how to and stop letting in soft tries. Up the Sharkies. Let's turn it around. Brent, we're all in this together, as my friend Ben Lee says, and let's stick with them. I'm not too soft on them, I assure you. It's just the way that I deliver these podcasts is probably different to how you might do it or other people might do it. And believe me, go hit record and do your own one and get your voice out there. But I just believe that things will turn around. So, and that's not blind hope. There's reasons why it will turn around. Appreciate you, Brent. Thanks for listening. Please keep listening and be in touch anytime you like. Simon sent an awesome article. Well, kind of awesome. It's from the SMH and it's called Good Times Never Seemed So Good Until We Started Singing Sweet Caroline. And it's a bit of a history on how the Boston Red Sox incorporated that song. And you do say, where do I sign up to ban this from Shark Park? So, man, Sweet Caroline is really getting mixed opinions. I feel people are coming around a little bit. Simon's not, and I respect that. I can't get annoyed when I hear it. I'm sorry. Jay says, I noticed that in the power game, it seemed without Nico and Cam, the team just falls apart. Error rate wasn't bad. We were coming to get them, then Hamlin-Welly dropped the ball. The game's over now, move on. I think either start Hamlin-Welly or Rudolph or send them to the Jets. Well, I don't quite get that, but Hamlin-Welly's injured. We need Colquhoun and Tuku in the starting lineup. Well, they're both in the 22 this week. Tuku's in the 17, I think. We'll talk about that soon. Colquhoun is making a comeback. You say you can't have Jack Williams starting. He's more effective off the bench. Nakora has done nothing lately. If we lose 3 straight, we'll show we won't be in the running come season's end. 3 straight losses would be deadly. I don't know. Wouldn't be good for morale and for the ladder and everything else. But it doesn't mean the season's over. Anyway, we're going to win. As in, we're going up there to play to win. Now, this is another Steve with another I told you so. Unless I'm getting really confused. As I told you last week, we won't beat the Eels, and we didn't. But it seems a lot of Sharks supporters just blow it off like we were going to bounce right back. Our defense has gone from best to now worst in the top 8. I tried telling you guys last week they were not going to win tonight. Stop with the telling me stuff. I don't need to be told things. I mean that nicely too, by the way. But I don't get this I told you so thing. I tell you how next week's game will go versus Brisbane. You may not agree, but we'll cop our 3rd loss in a row. Why? Our defense, they will put 30 plus points on us. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong, but I know I'm not wrong. Well, here's the thing, Steve, and I'm not picking on you because I've got a microphone or anything else. I'm being nice. We respect you. We like you listening. Please keep writing in. Please keep telling me stuff. You making a statement saying we're going to lose by 30. If we lose by 30, you look like a genius. If we don't lose by 30, are we going to even remember that you said that? Come on, man. Let's just stay strong. The world is not falling apart. I assure you. Thank you for being in touch. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. All right, so I did all the mail in one go. I didn't plan on doing that, but let's have a quick break. Come back and we'll hear from Kayal Iro. Sharkcast Pod, don't go anywhere. Dyson Logistics have been on board with Sharkcast since day one, and because of that and their excellent service, we are proud to be associated with them. Dyson Logistics provides tailored logistical solutions to meet your individual client needs and is set apart by its personalized service. Dyson is a strong worldwide agent network, enabling highly competitive rates, and I should also point out their head honcho is a lifelong season ticket holder of the mighty Cronulla Sharks. Find them online, www.dysonlogistics.com, or call them on 02 8339 1844. Dyson Logistics, service delivered.
Here it comes, Hydes for the win. Nico Hydes is ice cool. It's Cronulla's night. They've done it again at the death in the Shire.
The Royal Motor Yacht Club Port Hacking is a hidden gem of the Shire, situated on the banks of the beautiful Port Hacking. It's a great place to catch up with friends, celebrate your birthday or any special occasion, and they always show the NRL live on the big screens. The RMYC Port Hacking, proud sponsors of this podcast and big supporters of the Cronulla Sharks. Check out their website, rmycph.com.au. They've got a Facebook page, or you could go old school and call them on 02 9523 9300.
I'm just handing over possession to Cronulla in good field position now, right on the halfway line.
Eddinghausen and Green, laying it on, Peachy's into the face, they're not going to get in, the young fullback scores for the Sharks.
Well, I'll tell you, it is one of the best scrum moves you've ever seen.
Sharkcast is supported by the best and most honest real estate agent in the Sutherland Shire, Jason Hawes from Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. He's an expert in the Caringbah region and has his eye all across the Shire. Lifelong Sharks fan and supporter of this podcast, if you're looking to buy or sell in the region, the person you need to be talking to is Jason Hawes from Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. Call him on 0410 417 450. That's 0410 417 450. Jason Hawes, Cripps & Cripps Real Estate.
All right, we're down here at Shark Park. The boys have just finished training. This is another little quick interview for Sharkcast podcast and the great man, Sam Shinazzi. And I'm joined by another great man, Kayal Iro. Thanks for coming on the show. First question, regular first grader now. How's it feel mentally and physically on the body? Have things changed for you or what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's been a massive change really. Like, I'm not used to having sore body for like the next 3 years after the game every week too. So it's been a big change, but I feel like I'm adapting slowly. So yeah, it's been good.
And you enjoying your footy?
Yeah, heaps. I love every week's a challenge for me. So I wouldn't say I'm a regular yet. Like, still working on I still don't feel like an NRL player yet. So I feel like I'm still working towards that. Yeah, and I'm enjoying that.
Awesome. Now tell us about growing up, where you're from, and sort of your upbringing coming into footy.
Yeah, so I was actually born over in England. My dad was playing Super League over there, and then I moved to Cook Islands, Rarotonga, when I was turning 2. So yeah, I pretty much just say I'm born and raised there. Yeah. So I grew up in Cook Islands. I started footy when I was probably 6, playing for Arangi Bears down there. That's my village. I grew up in Arangi, so yeah, pretty much that's where my journey started.
What's footy like over there? Is it like a big thing, like a big cultural thing for guys to play rugby league, or what's it like?
Yeah, like everyone just loves sports there. Like all island communities are like that. So yeah, the seasons work differently there. So you get to play every sport throughout the year. So it's only a short season. So I think leagues first, and it goes to rugby sevens and rugby union, and then you can play soccer. Then there's like cricket and stuff as well. So you get to play everything all through the year. So you're always being active. But yeah, that's the cool thing.
Yeah, nice. And you just mentioned your dad. Obviously, your dad and your uncle, pretty big names in rugby league. What sort of influence and role have they played in shaping your career?
Yeah, Dad's probably a massive one. My Uncle Tony, obviously, he was the coach of Cook Islands as well, so he's had a bit of influence as well through that. But yeah, mostly Dad just growing up, training me, and he's never really pushed me to NRL, but I've always really wanted to follow in his footsteps. So I think that's the main reason why I'm here today. Yeah, really.
And then other people who sort of influenced your career when you come to Cronulla, how did you end up here? First of all.
Yeah, so it's funny. I started COVID year like 2020. I was up at nights, but I had a bad injury that year anyway, so I ended up moving home. Not thinking of footy, just thinking of that's me done footy now because of COVID and then my bad injury, my back injury. And then Glenn Brayley actually contacted my manager at the time, and he said, "Oh, I can get Kayal over here for 10-week preseason." So I was like, I may as well take that. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I ended up coming over for that. That's how I got in. And I think it was the 2021 preseason, and then I came here. There's obviously like still kind of fresh to it all. But I had a lot of island boys to get around me as well, and then now I'm mixing and mingling with the Aussie boys as well, so that's been good, yeah.
It's a good little crew over here. Let's talk about this week. Obviously, we've got the Broncos up in Brisbane. It's another tough one off the back of Origin as well. Has there been a bit of emphasis on defence? Obviously, we've leaked a few points the last few weeks. What's sort of the mood at training, and what are we focusing on this week?
Yeah, I think we haven't really changed much of how we prep, but I think that today we obviously more we wanted to bring more intensity into our training, so hopefully that just filters into our week, into our game. So yeah, obviously we just got to work harder for each other, and yeah, good things will come.
I've got a couple of fun questions that we like to ask at the end of these interviews. October 2, 2016, grand final. Where were you, and who were you supporting?
Well,
You've got to be honest here too.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I was in New Zealand at the time, so I was living there. So yeah, I can't really remember. Like,
did you watch the game?
Yeah, I do remember like seeing the game, but yeah, I think because I was actually supporting Sharks then. I think because was that when it was Melbourne, eh?
Yeah.
And then I was going for the underdogs. I think Sharks were the underdogs then. So yeah, I'm an underdog guy. So I think that's why I chose them.
Perfect. And what about your favourite music or artist, or what do you listen to pre-game or just during the week, things like that?
Yeah, I'm more R&B guy or like chill music. So yeah, a mixture of like Drake mostly, and then SZA and stuff like that. Just pretty chill music, bit of everything. Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for coming on the show, and good luck this week.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, appreciate it very much. Speak to you soon.
Okay, welcome back to Sharkcast Pod. You just heard from Kayal Iro, our starting centre this year. And thank you so much to Gary Dover at the Cronulla Sharks for doing that interview for us. He's a part of Sharkcast Pod, of course, a valued member. He's one of my good friends, and I adore him to bits. So thank you so much, Gary, for doing that. Really, really appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate it too. Thanks to Kayal for having a chat as well. Hopefully we'll catch up with him in the near future, and hope he has a big game this week against the Broncos. He's probably going to have to, because they're going to be fired up for a big game, but hopefully we're fired up for a big game as well. So let's get to the team that's been named, for starters. Will Kennedy, Sione Katoa, Jesse Ramian, Kayal Iro, and Ronaldo Militalo. Our halves are Dan Atkinson and Braden Trindle. We'll come back to that. The forward pack is Tall Tom Hazelton, Blake Brayley, Oregon Gafusi. Back row is Britton Nickera, Sifa Talakai in the second row, and Cam McInnes named to start and captain after his State of Origin game, all being well. Immediate bench is Jack Williams, Toby Rudolph, Royce Hunt, and Tuku Hautapua. Extended bench of Mawini Hiroti, Billy Burns, Jaden Beryl, Nephi Baru, and Jesse Colquhoun. You'll note, for starters, there is no Nicho Hynes named, and that was quite shocking. There's reasons. The man went into Origin with a niggling issue. He's past that. He's going to play tonight. We don't know how that goes. Godspeed, my friend. We play on Saturday night in Brisbane, and then we play short turnaround. You got to love this competition, short turnarounds during Origin, for another time, another week, like last week, Thursday at the beautiful Shark Park against the Dolphins. So the thought there is they don't want to risk him for Brisbane, they want to save him for the Dolphins game. And you can understand why. I know it sucks. I know that a lot of you agree with me about this whole Origin fiasco and the time of it. Again, not against Origin, just against the way it stops the comp. But that's why he's not named. And I understand it. Not happy about it, but I understand it. There is the thought that you could have just named him for, I guess, keep the Broncos wondering what's going on, but that's not how it went down. So at this stage, your halves will be Atkinson and Trindle. Now, on that extended bench, I'm not suggesting Jesse Colquhoun's going to play, because I don't think he will. But I'm told he's going to be pretty close to ready for selection in the coming weeks. So that's positive news, because he was on his way to establishing himself, got the long-term injury. Now he's back, he's played some cup. I imagine he'll play again this week, and then we'll see how he goes. Sifa Talakai to the second row. The bench as it stands, Williams, Rudolph, Hunt, and Tuku Hatsapua is monstrous. So it's going to need to be. The Broncos named a pretty good team. Most of their Origin guys are on the extended bench with the thought that they will play. So it's certainly going to be a tough one. We've played them 62 times. We've won 22 of those games. Broncos have won 40 of the 62. They've won 9 of the past 11. Their 40 wins against us is their most against any team. The majority of games in recent history have been fairly close, and I guess for our sake, we hope it's fairly close this week. Broncos have won 5 of the past 7 at Suncorp against us. The Sharks have the worst record of any current team at Suncorp Stadium. So aside from Western Suburbs, the Sharks' 9 wins from 29 games at 31% is the worst of any current team. And only Wests had a worse record, having never won there in 6 games. Before the bye, Brisbane lost 36-34 to the Gold Coast at Suncorp. They're yet to lose back-to-back games this year. All 7 of their wins have been when keeping their opposition to 18 points or less. The Broncos are starting their halves well. They score the most points in the first 20 and the first 20 after half-time. And they certainly have been starting well enough to score the opening try in their past 6 games. Sharks' defence is the best in the second half in the NRL. We concede 84 points in total in the second halves, and they have the best record after the halftime break, 20 minutes into it, conceding just 32 points. Very importantly, Ronaldo Mulitalo will play his 100th game. He debuted, as most of us remember, against the Broncos at this venue in 2019. He had an absolute horror game, and he's come so far from that. It's hilarious. To be fair, he was given about 7 seconds notice before going onto the field after a Josh Dugan injury in warm-up. So Ronaldo's 100th game, he's come so far, one of the premier wingers in the game. He needs 1 try to equal Matty Rogers and 4th on our all-time try scorers list. That's the shorter preview of the Broncos game this week. It's going to be a tough one. No one should be in any other state of mind than it's going to be tough. Even if we're in good form, which we're not, it would still be a tough game. Brisbane in Brisbane. Coming off Origin, hopefully their guys are hurting more than our guys. Well, we've got one guy playing, Cam, and we're going to need him. Hopefully Nico gets through Origin injury-free, and we march on to the Dolphins next week. It's a short turnaround Thursday night game down at Shark Park. Get your tickets for that one. It's going to be a really good game, and hopefully a good vibe. Saturday night, enjoy the game. Thank you so much for your support. As always, thanks to everyone who's writing in. Keep writing in, and we'll definitely have your thoughts read out on the show. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. We can't play the song, so we're going to hear some hip-hop. Up Cronulla.
Sharkies! Sharkies!
Fafita tries to crash his way over, he does! Fafita got the ball over the line!
And to all you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.